This is other state champ Alex Thompson. This is Josh Elwer from the University of Northern Iowa, and you're listening to Potentially Dangerous on IA Wrestle.
Hey, is this heaven?
No, it's Iowa.
From high school to international wrestling, on the mat and beyond, this is the Potentially Dangerous podcast with the guys from IA Wrestle.
If you're a fighter, you like a fight. If you're an American, you like a fight. If you're an Iowa Hawkeye, you know you're going to get a fight.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and all your podcast-friendly apps. And follow us on social media platforms at IA Wrestle. Time to strap it up and get to the show. All right, it is time. It's time for another Potentially Dangerous. We're back from an absolutely history-making, crazy, heck of a weekend in Council Bluffs. I'm your host, Tony Hager. Ross Bartachek wasn't out in Council Bluffs, but he definitely had his eye on the college wrestling scene. Why Critter, or Hawks 1010, or Kirk Crittenden, for some of you that maybe know him personally, we're out on Council Bluffs, and Ross, man, it was crazy. I don't know if you were able to watch any of the action from home, but Council Bluffs lived up to the hype. Not only the Teskey and Thompson match, but the whole tournament in general lived up to the hype.
So, I mean, I feel like this has been the craziest wrestling season ever, just because, I mean, we're in group chats with each other. I mean, we hit each other up when we're doing stuff through, for what's going up on the site. But I mean, you've just been a wild man. You're like the Wild West, man. You headed out west and you were just shooting it up out there in Council Bluffs.
Yeah, this year I've just sometimes when I've always been kind of driven by other people's success. In the mortgage industry, I was driven by people that were having success. And, when I felt like I was at the top, I got rid of that business and started IA Wrestle and Takedown. And I just feel like there's things to be proven of what we could do in Iowa. Our state lacks so much coverage compared to, I feel like I want to have the same kind of coverage as a national wrestling website. Track wrestling, flow wrestling, the open mat, intermat. I just feel like we should be doing that within our own state. For the whole state. Obviously, we can't be at every tournament every weekend, but sure as heck is going to try. I mean, this weekend, though, Jesus. Kirk and I got there on Thursday night, and it was a grind of a weekend. I'll tell you that.
I mean, the tournament is huge. I mean, I don't know what place they went out to for every weight, but I mean, there's good teams from Kansas, Minnesota, obviously Iowa, Nebraska was in there. You guys did a social. Did you meet up with the NE Wrestle crew too?
Yeah, Drew Kassler showed up. He popped his head in there a little late to the Quaker Steak and Lube. Shout out to them for sponsoring the social. First year social, we had about 50 people there, probably just dominated wings and some refreshments, and it was a great night just to kind of shake hands, kiss babies, and coaches. Some officials showed up. Had some huge calls Saturday, and so it was good to meet and greet type deal. Next year will be bigger. I mean, we're expecting 100 people next year now that people know that it's going to be happening a little bit more, and. Man, we didn't get to bed till some of those coaches. We took them out late that night, and some of us didn't get to bed until the sun came up. But it was worth it.
Oh, so I mean, kind of crazy. Obviously, we hyped up that Teskey Thompson match, and I know that's something I really want to talk to you about. I want to get your opinion on. But I want to go back to the semifinals. Because that 26 bracket was loaded. Jace Kosler was in the night of conflict, so people should be familiar with him. And then Philip Mooney of Nebraska was in there, along with Teskey and Thompson. So, I mean, what were your thoughts on those semifinals? I know Teskey kind of had a close scare, almost didn't even get to Thompson.
Yeah, they were both going on the same mat. I wasn't on the call. We didn't do play-by-play for them. So I wasn't on that. We did do play-by-play, but I was not on the call. So Kirk and I were actually up at the head table watching, and both matches were going at the same time. Thompson dominated Kozler, in my opinion. So that match got over with, and all eyes were on Teskey and Moomy. And on the mat that they were on, I felt like Moomy fans were right on top of them. So it was really Nebraska against Iowa, and then Iowa fans just weren't cheering because they're so used to Teskey winning, right? But when Moomy scored, man, it's like people, or maybe the people were from Iowa too, just wanted to see him lose. Maybe because it was so hyped up that Teskey Thompson was going to happen that we overlooked Moomy. But I don't think we did. But that we're an Iowa-based website, so we're not going to hype up Moomy Teskey. But that match, I mean, Kirk and I were fanboys at the head table, just like on edge. We were just. I remember saying to Kirk, like, Teskey's got a motor, but he's down a lot, and things have to go perfectly for him. And they really did. He pushed the pace, and I felt better during the Teskey Thompson match than I did the Moomy Teskey match as far as Teskey coming back. I just thought he was dead to rights against Moomy.
I think I came away, I mean, obviously Teskey stole the show, but Phil Moomy was a guy that I was really kind of taken with this weekend. I know he had a big summer. I think he was Greco national champ out of that Fargo. But, man, I thought he looked really good against Teskey. Obviously, Teskey needed some late match dramatics to get the job done. And then I think he came back and beat Kozler for third. So that Moomy kid, man, I tell you what, he put me on notice. I kind of want to maybe bring him into the next event because he's legit. Maybe we can recreate that matchup at War at West Gym down the road or something like that.
Well, Moomy texted me. He said he wants Teskey. He wants Teskey at War at West Gym. So, yeah, I think we have to do Teskey Thompson if that is possible. But if not, Teskey Moomy definitely is a show. It's a showdown that I think Nebraska people would cover. Drive over to for, and the fans would just go crazy for that match again. Moomy, Teskey has been coming. He's been down all summer long. We were 32. He was down multiple matches. He came back. Actually, in his quarterfinals match, he almost got. He didn't almost. It was like a kind of a glimpse of hope from the guy that he was wrestling. I don't even remember his name. It was on the edge and almost kind of put him to his back. So something, Teskey just kind of needs really kind of a kick in the rear sometimes. It seems like here as of late that, holy crap, I gotta get going. It's almost bit him in the the last two matches. I think his conditioning is there, right? His conditioning is there. I just think mentally right now he's in a different spot. But it gets the job done, right?
I think it's kind of crazy, though, because coming in, I know, we're on record. We thought it was going to be Teskey and folk style, Thompson if they meet in freestyle, just because that's how their styles were geared. But I feel like Thompson really, I mean, we knew it'd be close, but I don't know. Just the match didn't go the way I thought it would. And just to watch Teskey come from behind, I can't remember how he got into that takedown to Thompson to his back. Didn't he cradle him up a little bit there?
Yeah.
Is that what?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the sequence.
He ended up cradling him. He was on that. He hit an outside single leg. Yep. And Thompson he tried to put his hand on the mat, and his head went down. As soon as his head went down, Teskey reaches over and just clamps that sucker. And he went over for a quick two. I mean, it was definitely a quick two, but Thompson also got a quick two, which I didn't think he had control on the far side of the mat. They ended up giving him the 2 back points. So I think those two points evened out at the end of the day, as far as you could say they were controversial calls. But dude, think about what Teskey just did, and coming back from that, how many kids would just be emotionally checked out I mean, they're both. He's undefeated, never been beat in high school regular season, and he's down 5 points. I think it was like 7-2 going to the third or something like that. And to think that he can go and still beat Alex Thompson, a guy that scores points left and right. I mean, that takes some fire within, and that's when you get the title of, Teskey's a gamer. He proved it right there.
I think that level of comeback, that X factor that Teskey displayed it really shows you, why he's probably the best guy. I mean, he's going to take over that number one spot in the Fab 50, most likely. Things kind of go the way they think they'll go. Wait, could that match happen again, Tony?
Yeah, the match could happen in a couple weeks at the Cedar Rapids Jefferson, the Jayhawk.
Jeff, yeah.
Yeah, CR Jeff, which we won't be at, unfortunately. I tried to get the stream, but they're going to go a different route. So hopefully there'll be hopefully we can go out there and get some quality footage of it. Because that's just a match that deserves to be archived and showcased, because Thompson beats him. I mean, that would just blow up the internet. Where you're gonna want a round 3. It's just like a UFC fight, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, because last year that was the big talk. Thompson took out Mike Blockus. That was the big match there. So if you can set that matchup, I mean, I didn't really think that tournament would have a bigger matchup, but if you can get Teskey Thompson round 2. I don't know, man. It's not far from my house.
You better be there.
I was just gonna say, I don't know how you don't go.
Yeah, you gotta go. I was expecting people to come out to Council Bluffs. You gotta be there for a history match. If you're anywhere close, right? If you're gonna know that match is gonna happen, you gotta be there. But luckily, we had the archives of the match, and we had it under paywall. But then, as the tournament got over, we were like, we just have to release this for free. People have to be able to watch this match. It's just history making, and other websites probably wouldn't have released it for free, and they would have had it under a paywall, but not us. So we had to release that one.
So what happens with those two going forward? I mean, did you get a feel? What's the mindset?
Well, I heard rumors that Teskey was going down to 20, and then Bennett was going to go 26. But after talking to Teskey, it sounds like he's never heard that. So I'm not sure who was telling me that info, where the heck they found that out. So Teskey 26. I've heard Thompson going up to 32. That could have happened at Council Bluffs Classic, but Thompson, based off what I was hearing in interviews, is he's going to be coming for him. He now he's going to want that match back. And honestly, looking at the match and listening to his interviews, he's 100% right. He basically said, my shape wasn't there. He gassed. Yeah, he was in control for the first 2 periods, and he gassed on the third, or he let his foot off the pedal anyways. What I think I've talked, maybe I might be contradicting myself, but I'm pretty sure in past podcasts that I've said that I feel like if Teskey could slow Thompson down, that I feel like he could win. But if he lets Thompson shoot from outside space, he's dead to rights. And that's what Teskey did in that third period, is he really kind of closed the gap and got the job done. And he wore him down with his heavy hands. So it was a good match. But lots more from the Council Bluffs Classic, though.
Well, yeah, the final thought is, I'm really proud of both those guys, putting it on the line, putting that history, the magnitude. I mean, just there's a lot of publicity going with that. I mean, it wasn't just us blowing it up, there was Intermat was talking about it, Track Wrestling talking about it. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure Flow Wrestling talked about it on their podcast this week. So, I mean, to have that much national attention on 2 Iowa high school kids wrestling, I have a lot of respect for those two to put that kind of, that kind of commitment and just everything on the line. So,
what I took away from that too is they both said like, "Hey, we're looking for world medals. Like this match doesn't really matter. Yeah, on paper, like going down in history as an undefeated wrestler, great. But they needed that match. They needed that match to get better. It was a wake up call probably for both of them.
Both, yeah,
So
for sure.
They both were like, this match helped us. So I think going forward, and when I took away from Joe Stevens, I saw an interview with him in a newspaper. It would be Thompson's coach. He said he was asked if this match would help bigger matches happen in the state of Iowa, because they could happen in a lot of duels, but coaches want to win duels and they aren't looking after for their individuals sometimes. So we get people like bumping up or not wrestling or forfeiting, and he's right. He's right. We baby some of these kids and don't let them wrestle the big hype matches because we feel like it's going to affect a duel. At the end of the day, aren't we preparing them to be the best they can? So what are we protecting? So I've always been a fan of Joe Stevens, but that kind of solidified, I guess, why he thinks the way he does sometimes. Because sometimes I haven't agreed with what he said, but this time, for sure, I kind of resonated like why people love him so much out in Western Iowa. But let's talk a little bit more about the Council Bluffs Classic, I guess. Yeah. I mean, what were some takeaways?
Craziness is Drake Ayala, I think. He's somebody I want to talk about mainly because that 88-pound national champ, there's a lot of talk whether or not he'd be big enough. And then just kind of seeing him from, video matching up against his opponents. He wrestled Bo Klingensmith of Woodbury Central, who's another really good young freshman. I didn't think he looked overly small. I think he's put on some good weight. It's kind of something I thought, which is, I'm really happy about that because that 106 weight at 3A is just, it could be a lot of fun here in a couple weeks.
Well, I could have swore that I saw on Facebook at the Independence Invite that he was weighing like 98 pounds. And I was able to interview him after the match, and he's like, "Oh, I'm weighing like 111." Like, what? Like, so I don't know where or who the heck I saw that from. He is smaller, I guess you could say, when you see the other 106-pounders, but he wasn't at the Council Bluffs Classic. I mean, I don't know if he took some steroids or what the homeboy did, but he looked big, and he hit that shin wizard, dude. Oh my lord, that kid's a bad man. I can't remember what match it was, but I just was sitting and watching Ayala. I haven't had an opportunity to watch him live, and I was standing next to Brody, and I was like, dude, this is a real deal. He's a bad man. I mean, he could be one of the best fundamentally sound wrestlers that they have on that team, and that's pretty scary.
Saying something, man. That team's stacked.
Yeah. So, yeah, Drake Ayala, definitely the show at 106. To win that tournament, it wasn't overly deep, but still, it is definitely a tournament that I think he needed after the Independence tournament to kind of get some of his confidence back.
Yeah, then I saw Biscaglia kind of took care of 120. Looks like he pinned Max Mayfield there from pretty solid Nebraska wrestler there in the finals. So, I mean, just solid performance out of him. I guess, I just look good to see him building out there, building on his resume. Just for me, all these results were, I feel like the money was in the lightweights. Did you have any other highlights in the upper weights that I'm missing right now?
Other takeaways of Council Bluffs Classic, I would say Drew Bennett's defense. His defense was on point. He's the Funky Bennett for a reason, but he's left his feet in the sand a couple times. Like, he let his opponent in his legs way too many times, but he was able to defend it. Ultimately, I think he tricked his opponent going to that shot one last time, and that was ultimately his demise. So he won in overtime, but. That was my biggest takeaway from Drew Bennett's tournament was getting his feet moving and getting to his offense instead of his defense. That's what's going to win him the big matches. I I never thought I would see Cade Lara get pinned like that in a cradle. That was pretty shocking. I think it was shocking for him. Dude is a beast. Another takeaway, I guess, in the Council Bluffs Classic was Caleb Sanders from Glenwood. First time I've seen him wrestle, or at least the first time I've kind of like sat down and watched him wrestle a couple of times. Beats 2 nationally ranked wrestlers. I wish Gable Stevenson would have been in that bracket, but he beat 2 nationally ranked wrestlers, and he's the real deal. McConkey and him are going to wrestle like 6 other times, so we're going to see that matchup again. But Caleb Sanders, if Brody Teske or Alex Thompson isn't at that tournament, he gets the OW.
Dang, man, he can't. Yeah, McConkey, we all know what he's all about. Because I'm trying to think, gosh, I should know I'm pretty sure he's the number 1 ranked guy there in 2A, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I know Cooper Lawson and Trineri are at that 2A heavyweight too, but yeah, I mean, you're beating up McConkey. That's pretty solid. Glenwood's pretty solid. They're up in the upper weights with Sherry too. So he came away with the title at 82. Cyclone Faithful be happy about that.
Yeah, I'd say that's really the biggest takeaway. Sanders is a real deal. I can't wait for McConkey Sanders again, round 2. Fort Dodge just got some hammers. They were not full strength. They are definitely going to be a good tournament team if they get full strength.
Because they put someone at 13 in the finals too, right?
Yeah.
Younger guy.
Yeah. Eaton or Cordell. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody different. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank here on his name.
Carson Taylor.
Carson Taylor, yeah. I was thinking of Cordell Eaton is for college wrestlers. Carson Taylor. Yeah, Carson Taylor. He beat a number 1 ranked wrestler, I believe, in the semifinals from Kansas. So huge tournament, kind of a breakout party for him at 113. That's why no one's really heard of him. So breakout party for him. Fort Dodge had a heck of a tournament, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, kind of hard to break into those Fort Dodge lightweights these past few years, huh?
Yeah. But overall, that tournament. One thing that I think people don't understand about this tournament is every single champion gets a scholarship, $100 scholarship to college. There's literally no other tournaments that I know of. I know other tournaments have tried, but they've been doing this from year 1. This is their 5th year. 5 years in a row, they give $100 to every single champion.
Hey, man, you come win it a couple times, that adds up, too.
Yep, Brody Teske's got 3 titles or 4 titles, so he's got 4 titles. So he's got $400 waiting for him at Penn State. Boom. That'll buy you some books.
That's right.
So,
for a semester.
So I guess that's just something that no tournaments really have. They did a free clinic with George Ivanov and James Green. This has quickly turned into one of my favorite events of the year. Obviously, the Teske Thompson match going down was huge, but just the people out there west. We focus a lot of time in Central Iowa. That's where I live. That's where Kirk lives. Everybody else lives in Eastern Iowa, so we don't get out west very often. But man, these people were embracing to IA Russell. I think they said IA Russell over the intercom probably 150 times. So I was obviously pretty pumped about that.
For sure.
But so Council Bluffs Classic, live archives, On Track Wrestling. Check them out. They're still available, $10, or a season pass, which is just going bananas right now. We have so many events. A big event coming up this weekend, Ross. Battle of Waterloo. Yeah, we're back. Last year we did day 2 of the championship bracket, so we only did 2 mats, I believe, last year. So kind of light, which we did at the Council Bluffs Classic too. But now we've got the capabilities to stream all mats, and the Battle of Waterloo. Some of these teams, some of these individuals. I mean, 120. At first look, I was like, okay, how do we get Happel versus Oldham? Because I feel like that'd be a fun match, right? 1A versus 3A. Oldham's really kind of been a rising star, I guess, this summer. He's always been, really good, obviously, but I feel like he's kind of broken out of that shell and taken some of the limelight there at Valley, and Happel obviously being a state champ. So I think if we could get that matchup, Valley's got to,
Broderson and Shapiro.
Yeah, Broderson, Shapiro. Broderson. I know that he's just like Shapiro, like a guy that literally came out of nowhere in the national rankings, right? Shapiro just kind of showed up. Broderson's the same way. He's kind of been that guy that has been there, but he wins state title, goes and wins a bunch of tournaments this summer. He tries freestyle and Greco, wins some of that stuff. So that's a clash of, two guys that really came from the same
bolt of cloth or something like that.
Yeah, I guess the same kind of popularity of how they become an elite wrestler. So Battle of Waterloo is going to be chock full of matches if they wrestle like Joe Stevens from Underwood wants them to. That's the problem with duels. The high school duels just kind of suck sometimes because we just see this movement all the time. What Joe Stevens said, he thinks that you should submit your wrestlers the card before the duel starts, and then you can't move them. Which I like that because you're going to get those matches, you're going to know what those matches are. But there's also duels are fun because sometimes you do get some of those bumped up matches, but you don't see enough of people bumping up to wrestle those ranked matchups, right? You're bumping away from the ranked matchups. So there's kind of a gamership there. So if we had more of the bumping up to wrestle people, then that would be making duels a lot more exciting. But
for sure, yeah. You can't really think of too many times where you got a pretty top guy where you could bump him into wrestling maybe the number 4 ranked guy up a weight, but just to get yourself a win, you'd rather try and get your 6 points at your weight and hopefully you don't get pinned versus their ranked guys. So, no, I hope we get those matchups. There's going to be a lot of good teams. Lisbon, New Hampton. Isn't there I put it out today. Is there maybe 3 of the top 10 1A schools? Or maybe there's 3 from both 1A and 2A that are going to be at the Battle of Waterloo.
Bosco's there. New Hampton's there. Valley's there. They're the 2nd seed. Some of these brackets, it's kind of everyone really seems to kind of complain about the Battle of Waterloo brackets, but they're so hard to do this early in the season too, kind of, because you don't really know who's got what. So Denver and Valley are in the Andrew bracket. They're going to be Friday night. Starts at 4:00. Well, they're 1 and 2 seed. So Denver will have Alburnett first round, and then you've got Clear Lake, Epworth, and then Iowa City High versus Osage, and then Pleasant Valley versus Valley. So in that bracket, if you go to chalk, Denver could wrestle Valley. It's crazy to see Valley seeded 2nd in a dual tournament.
Right. One of the best teams in the nation.
Yeah, crazy. And then Friday morning, you've got Lisbon, like you said. They're in that bracket, and they're wrestling West Waterloo first. They'll run through that one. And Cedar Falls versus Iowa City West. Crestwood versus Nashville Plainfield. Then Mason City versus West Delaware. Nothing real sexy about that matchup. Maybe Lisbon versus Iowa City West, just because I feel like those coaches might, butt heads a little bit, so that might be fun to watch. The best bracket in my mind is Friday morning, the Chapman bracket. New Hampton, Bosco, Waverly, Shell Rock. We get Bosco versus Waverly, Shell Rock probably at 11:00 in the morning. Those two teams don't love each other. I know that. And then, you get New Hampton versus Bosco or Waverly Shell Rock. And I think those two teams, those guys don't like each other too. They're in the same conference, and so I believe not the same conference.
Yep.
Yeah, they are. They're in
I think so.
Yeah, so I kind of wish they would have kind of split that up a little bit more. But New Hampton's solid dual team, and I think they don't mind wrestling Waverly Shell Rock or Bosco when they're a team that they've got right now. The Gadsden brackets, Clarion Goldfield, the 1 seed, North Scott, number 2. You got Adel, Linn-Mar, Assumption, Lake Mills, and Indianola in that one. It'll be interesting to see what Indianola has after losing a couple of their wrestlers. So I think your best brackets to watch are going to be Friday morning, the Chapman bracket, and then Friday night, or that would be then Friday night, that Denver versus Valley possible matchup. So that's just Friday, and then you get that championship bracket on Saturday. That's where the real fun happens. So this is the best. This is the best, really, and only. There's another dual tournament, the Bettendorf Shootout, but this is really the marquee dual tournament of the year, in my opinion, Ross.
For sure, and it's all going to be streamed live on IA Wrestle. So if you haven't got the season pass, or maybe you just want to buy Battle Waterloo, you can do that too. But we're definitely going to be tuning into that. You don't got any excuse. If you're not there, you might as well be watching it.
I can see why you have an excuse Friday night, Friday not to be there. So if that's the case, then yeah, definitely tune in while you're watching at work. I think a lot of people did tune in during the Council Bluffs Classic on Friday. So definitely the Battle of Waterloo starts Friday morning, 9 o'clock. Might as well just grab some extra coffees and act like you're doing a lot of work on Friday and watch some wrestling.
That's right.
And so, okay, the weekend was crazy for us. I mean, we were covering high school wrestling. I feel like this is like the one year that I haven't watched any college wrestling. I was at Iowa City Duels. Those were boring. But, there were some big matches at the college. I mean, we've got Spencer Lee that wrestled. Alex Marinelli beats Lewis. Keenan Storer loses to Bryce Meredith. You were in tune with college wrestling. What went down this weekend?
Oh, man, Iowa, the big duel with Rutgers went down, man. Everyone was talking about this when everyone had circled that this was the big duel. Obviously Tom Brands he's on record repeatedly saying, it's not his best personnel. I think that's the word he used. The personnel isn't, the best. And I think that's why everyone had this duel circled. I thought it was very interesting. I mean, I think KJ Pilcher was the one that put it out there that Carter Happel was definitely getting a start this weekend. He ended up going in both matches at 41. I was a little surprised to see Brands go with Paul Glenn versus Rutgers on Friday night instead of Phil Locks. Locks was maybe 2 points difference with Scott Del Vecchio, the Rutgers ranked wrestler at Midlands a year ago. So, I mean, those first three weights, Tony, Iowa, they definitely need some help. You talked about Spencer Lee wrestling at the UNI Open, but, I mean, it's just, I had to go back. I'm going to look it up right now. When the last time that Iowa lost 125, 33, and 41 in a row, when do you think it was?
When do I think it was? I mean, I don't know how you even look that up or you have that stat, but it was like early in the season when 25 and 33 lost back to back. I was thinking, when the heck was that? Now 125, 133, 141. I mean, here's there's two things I'm really bad at. I'm really bad at pronouncing people's last names, and I'm absolutely horrible with stats and figures and remember history. That's why I've got Mike Chapman on speed dial if I need something. I'm horrible with history. What do you got?
This is the unofficial. And you know what? Maybe this might not be correct. Maybe they probably wrestled like Oklahoma State. Something crazy happened. But I had to go back to find, and I hate to phrase it like this, but to find a not as strong starting three, I had to go back to 2005, 2006. when it was Lucas Mangini. Who was that? God dang it. You don't remember him? Maganai? I don't know who that is.
Who is that?
He wrestled 25, and then when Charlie Falk came into the lineup, he bumped up to 33. And then it was Dan Dennis's true freshman year, and then I can't remember. That might have been Alex Sertz's sophomore year. They lost the first three to Michigan State. They also did it to Oklahoma State. But it's crazy, ever since 2005, 2006, they've had All-American caliber, at least pretty much at two of those weights.
Yeah.
With Falk, Slayton. Then they went through their tear where pretty much since 2009 to 2010, they've been pretty unstoppable at those first few weights. So, I mean, you have to dig really deep to find a time when Iowa struggled this much, and maybe we caught a little bit of a glimpse of some hope with Carter Happel's upset over Ryan Deal there of Maryland. But I don't know. It's just kind of it feels weird to sit there through the first three matches and just kind of, you're hoping maybe you take one when you're watching it as an Iowa fan. It's a whole new experience for duels, I think.
Yeah, when you think about how did Iowa get to this point, right? How did they get to where they don't have a 25, 33, or 41 pounder that's the goat, the goats, I guess, of the team, which they've had for years now. I think, you have to think about recruiting too. When you're recruiting, if you're a kid, you got these kids that are there that, when can they crack the lineup? You got to recruit a kid at the perfect time. You got to land the kid at the perfect time. Nick Suriano would have been that perfect kid to take over 25 or 33, wherever you had it. Well, they spent a ton of time in Nick Suriano. Ryan Morningstar had a great relationship with him. They lost him. So that was, I think, a big blow to why you're not seeing, instant results right now. Obviously, they got Spencer Lee there. May or may not redshirt him. I think we see him second semester, but it's Iowa's just been so dominant there. But if you're a recruit, where else would you want to go? You've had Olympians, you've had world champs. I mean, why if you were from 125 to 141, literally, why would you not want to go to Iowa? And you've got Tom and Terry Brands there, and Matt McDonough. So something's getting lost in translation there from recruiting of why that shouldn't be a stacked field. Maybe they put apples into some other people that are there right now, but clearly it's not working out, right?
Right. So, we're going to see, like you said, I think Spencer Lee kind of feels like they're leaning toward maybe that being a possibility. I don't know, just the way Tom talks about it's not his best personnel. They know they're going to take lumps. Spencer wrestles and just wrecks people at the UNI Open. Tech fall, pin guys all the way through. So, maybe they get Spencer at 25 and Carter can kind of step up there at 41. And Phil Laux is a ranked guy. I think he's number 20 right now. So things could get better at those first few weights. One thing we know for sure, I love Caleb Young. He's a great guy, but having Alex Marinelli back, I feel like is a nice little shot in the arm here for Iowa to take right into the Midlands. He's also sporting one of those massive knee braces, but he looked good. He got it out a win Friday against Rutgers, and he looked, he looked like a 4-time state champ taking on a guy a little bit lesser tier in the Maryland duel, but huge to get the bull back.
The Richie Lewis match, we did stop, I guess, what we were doing in the high school and watch that match. I did watch that, and to put it in perspective, Richie Lewis just came away with a world championship at U23s. So that's a big match for him. I think seeing him in black and gold is crazy. I mean, we don't even have any photos of Alex Marinelli. I feel like Alex Marinelli's been at Iowa for like the last 3 years. Right?
Right.
He's already like a leader. He talks when you interview him. He talks like he is the leader of this team, and he is a spokesperson of the team. So having him on the mat is a huge lift, I feel like, to that fan base. Would you agree?
For sure. I mean, this is a guy that committed as a junior. I think he's, one of the top 2 recruits in that class. So everybody's been, they were eyeing him the whole way. They kind of it was nice to, Iowa fans were focused on that while they were still hoping for Spencer Lee. They had a guy like Alex Marinelli to follow, somebody with a lot of potential. And now that they finally see him in the lineup, I think, there's a lot of people that were excited for this moment. And you put him after Brandon Sorensen and Mike Kemmer, 2 guys that, outside of the Penn State duel, you're kind of counting on them always to get you a couple wins back to back. And now you throw Marinelli in and you feel like they finally got that. It's the new 25 through 41. It's a little bit new. So, that's where the heart, the core of the lineup is. And, like you said, he's just that leader. He's got that personality that I think really connects well with the team. So, I mean, I love it. I love listening to him talk. So it's fun to, that he'll be around at duels now, and maybe we can interview him at the break, because we need somebody to take up that Gilman role that, is going to give you that sound bite that, to really bring the whole duel together, as one great package.
Well, Pat Downey's been a little bit more vocal on Twitter.
He's probably done with finals, right?
He's got to be. He's supposedly got. I mean, I would assume he's got to be done with his finals at Iowa State. So, I mean, what's the next step for him? I should probably check in with him.
So I think
he's got to do what now?
I think I saw, and this is if you're believing his Twitter, that he passed the GRE maybe. And one of the prerequisites to getting into the U of I grad school is to graduate with your bachelor's degree. So I think he's not technically accepted yet, and it might be, one of those things where it's pending graduation. But man, I think if Pat Downey's close, he might be. If he's got the grades, I feel like he's in. Is what I'm trying to say.
That's what the misconception is. He's not a smart guy. Is he a space cadet? Yes. He's all over the place, but he is a smart guy when it comes to book smarts, and he's going to give us sound bites, and he's going to outshine Alex Marinelli. I don't care if someone comes out and talks about mullets. Pat Downey's going to give us sound bites for the next 2 months if he is definitely on the team. So I think wrestling fans should hope that Pat Downey gets on the Iowa Hawkeye wrestling team. I'm excited.
I'm excited just to see if he wrestles unattached at the Midlands. Like, I don't even know. He doesn't even have to wrestle for Iowa. I just kind of want to see what he does at Midlands. I haven't even looked at the field. I know Rutgers is there. That means Nick Gravina's there. I just kind of want to see what he does. And like you said, he's starting to get a little bit more vocal on Twitter. So we're starting to see a little bit more of that old Pat Downey. But if he's full blown old Pat Downey, that might be a problem. But no, it's kind of, you can see a lot of shifting in the Iowa lineup here with, Marinelli's now back. The next duel, maybe you see Spencer Lee, and then the next duel, Pat Downey's on the team. I mean, that could be 3 huge changes to the lineup there coming down the pike.
Well, okay, so Iowa obviously had an interesting weekend with Rutgers, some ups and downs throughout, and the UNI Open went down.
They didn't wrestle any starters.
Yeah, no starters went down, which I was really surprised by. So I guess Spencer Lee got the start. Spencer Lee wrestled there. That took away everything.
Steyer won 65. I think Logan Ryan made the finals at 57. Good to see him. I don't know if he hasn't just been healthy or what, but I feel like we haven't seen him wrestling for UNI lately. Rudy Yates was there at 33. He made weight. I feel like that's pretty big news. I think he lost to Marcus Simmons in the finals. I know Gannett Gremmel had a big tournament at heavyweight. I think he beat Carter Isley and Aaron Costello, a couple high school foes there, rematches. But other than that, I guess I shouldn't gloss over Warner, Jacob Warner losing to Jake Woodley. But I'm not sure how much I'm concerned about that.
I didn't watch the match, and I didn't. I shouldn't have any opinion. Everyone keeps telling me that he shouldn't have lost. Joe, can you fill me in on what happened?
Well, I guess it depends why they're saying he shouldn't have lost. Are they just saying that he's the better wrestler, or just how the match actually went?
They're saying that I was just told that it was a bad coaching decision. And I don't even know what that means. Literally, I was covering the Council Bluffs, and someone says, Jacob Warner just lost, and the coach cost it in the match. And I don't know who the coach was, but, can you enlighten me? Is this person just high on crack, or what?
I don't know if it was, the end of the match where maybe Warner could have been working to get the escape, tie the match, and send it to overtime and try to win it there. I don't know. I just feel like these guys were familiar more than anything, and than anybody costing each other the match. They've wrestled before in high school. They're both young guys. And Jacob Warner, Mark Hall lost to Alex Meyer and Carver Hawkeye. You lose matches your true freshman year. Cale Sanderson wasn't entirely perfect. There's things where if you're not on, things happen, and it's those matches that you learn from. And a lot of those guys that come out as redshirt freshmen and are really successful are that way because they learned those lessons as redshirts. They took those losses and they figured out, okay, now I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to put this together. It's just kind of one of those steps. Not everybody has, necessarily a loss that teaches them, but they can learn in wins. But I feel like this is just kind of something where, Warner maybe. I guess I'm just trying to say I'm not selling stock. I feel like this is just kind of a little hiccup, and things can go back to where it was, where, hey, maybe he can challenge Colin Moore. I don't think that's out of the question at this time.
Interesting. I just thought it was.
Yeah, I know.
A match you okay, you just beat Willie Miklas, and
you pounded him.
Yeah,
we love Willie. We love Willie, but geez.
How did this just happen? But so, anyways, I guess so. Let's move to Iowa State. I guess the biggest thing to take away from that one was Canyon Store getting pinned. That was Canyon Store is really the Alex Marinelli of Iowa, or the Michael Kemmer of Iowa. He is in my opinion, he's the star of Iowa State's team, right?
100%.
He's the star of Iowa State's team. So for him to get pinned in a minute,
it's unfortunate, but you're talking about Bryce Meredith, who former NCAA finalist, a guy that. I think he beat Chad Redd, who was really highly rated at the time. Meredith looks like he might be really putting things together for his final season here. But
that's easily their best. That's their best wrestler. So Iowa State's best wrestler versus Wyoming's best wrestler. So
yeah, that's not the ideal. When Iowa State comes into a duel, you got to hope that. As long as it's just not one of the top guys, you're kind of hoping Kanan can keep you in the match or maybe steal it. But there's some other, big things in that Wyoming duel that they kind of get overlooked because they lost. Chase Straw beat Archie Colgan. I think he was ranked. This is coming off I think he beat John Stoudemire of Brown out at Las Vegas. So that's 2 ranked wins in his last 2 appearances, or last 2 events for Chase Straw. So maybe they're starting to get something at 57. He's just a sophomore. Jared Dagans looked really good at 49. The real disappointment, I think, other than Storr losing by fall, has kind of been the slipping of Ian Parker. We really thought when he beat DeSanto, when he won the Cyclone Open, they were going to have something there at 33, but he's just been struggling. I don't know if it's weight or what. Have you kind of been following that at all?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on at 33. Parker's been one of those guys that he was hyped up coming in, and then he just, I don't know how to explain where I compare him to, but I feel like Iowa State's had these guys the last 6 years that have come in where you expect them to take over, and there's something that just isn't mentally there, and the hype was so real, like obviously this summer, right? And Iowa State's going to beat Iowa, and Iowa State's going to beat UNI, and I think now is a time that people need to realize that how much Kevin Dresser, Zadok, St. John, and Metcalf really have to do to change Iowa State's culture. They have a ton of work to do. They're not going to be title contenders overnight, like I think a lot of people are thinking, and this just completely proves it. But that's what Kevin Dresser is so good at, is selling what he's doing. He's got the most season tickets in Iowa wrestling history. So if he can get a couple wins this year, that place is going to be rocking.
For sure. And I kind of wonder if, Jacob Allison, he had a nice pin there. He's a guy that, he wasn't even thinking about wrestling. He walks on the team. He probably wasn't expecting to be a chance to start, and now here he is, pinning a dude to start off a duel. That's crazy, right?
He was on the club team. He was on the club team at Iowa State, just messing around, just trying to keep in shape, and he's getting D1 freaking falls. Like, man, if you're a Waukee fan, you got to be just pumped up for Jacob Allison. What a way to. And he was at the guy at the press conference. I mean, I don't know who else you interviewed. Jared Deegan, Chase Straw could have been in there, but man, props to Jacob Allison. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool to see.
He's tough on top.
He's always been tough.
He's been a nice, when you thought you were gonna have Danny Vega, and then that didn't work out, and then John Marmoleo was supposed to be the guy, and he didn't work out, so now you got Allison. He's kind of stepped up, and maybe what I kind of want to know is, we've seen Dresser kind of, you have to bump up Colston to Blasi at 65. St. John, Breitenbach, I think, have just been hurt. And he's really kind of rotated through those 174 with Strickland, Swala, and Ensel. I'm kind of interested to see, coming up here is 133. They're going to take a chance on Marcus Simmons coming into the lineup. And then at 74, I saw Danny Bush lost a close one to Marcus Coleman there in the UNI Open finals. Maybe Danny Bush comes in at 74. And with Simmons and Bush, maybe this kind of changes the lineup. And like you said, they can get a couple of those dual wins to get Hilton rocking and really kind of capture that momentum on the back half of the season.
So, it's just what a crazy weekend that was. College wrestling, there's tons of little nuggets out there. High school wrestling was absolutely bananas. All eyes really were on Council Bluffs this weekend. I loved seeing newspapers, television, everyone was covering the Council Bluffs Classic, and that's what wrestling absolutely needs. People that don't normally cover wrestling were covering wrestling that weekend. And to anybody that says, "Oh, you guys are hyping up a match, or you're blowing things up way more than they need to," well, middle finger to you. How the heck, this weekend was freaking awesome for wrestling. It really was. And if you're just a traditionalist if you think like otherwise, because the buzz was absolutely real. I mean, I'm in the casino 4:00 in the morning, and people are asking me what I'm doing in town. We're talking about the wrestling tournament, and people that aren't wrestling fans are talking about, I heard there's a big wrestling match that could go down tomorrow night. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, these people are, they probably live in the casinos or something. I don't know. Like, they're talking about wrestling. So that's just...
I mean, and I get it when people want to talk about, was this a moment of recency bias with how much the Teskey-Thompson match was talked about? But when all the matches that were thrown out, I think they talked about, people love the Beatty-Borschel matchup, Borschel versus Morningstar. I know there's more Sundell, right? Who was his?
Galanakis. Sundell versus Galanakis. Sundell was undefeated going into the sectional tournament. Galanakis talked a bunch of smack, but Galanakis wasn't undefeated. He 0 state titles. It doesn't even compare, Ross. It doesn't compare.
Well, so that's what I was going to go back to. I mean, we're talking about 2 undefeated 3-state champs, both guys ranked in the top 30 nationally. We're talking about guys that have been in the Fargo finals, that have performed, at cadet nationals, at junior nationals. These guys they're every bit as good as, nationally. They're big in Iowa. There's a lot of historic significance to the match. I mean, I feel like it wasn't blown up based on recency. It really is one of the biggest matches to go down in Iowa. And maybe, 5 years from now, people will look back and say, like, yeah, we were wrong. I can't believe, we ever thought that wasn't as big as it was. So
I think some people are getting mistaken of, like, oh, these are the best wrestlers to compete against each other in all time history. Like, they're comparing the two from other matches. This is a history making moment. 2-3 state champions, undefeated. Like, it has never happened before. There's nothing that can compare to in the Iowa State high school wrestling ever. There literally is nothing that anyone has been able to tell me that compares to 3-timers undefeated wrestling each other their senior year. There's just there's no comparison. Yes, there was heated rivalries like the Galanakis-Sundell, which really wasn't a rivalry. Galanakis just thought he was better and talked a little smack, which I wish we had more of. That was hyped up, but this is hyped up because they're undefeated 3-time. So
speaking of Teskey-Thompson,
yep,
they are both the reigning Dan Gable Wrestler of the Year for 3A, 1A.
Okay. So
I feel like that is a fantastic transition into what you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so huge news. I kind of forgot about this. IA Russell is going to be a part of the Dan Gable Mr. Wrestler of the Year award with Fairway and Powerade in the IWCOA. So if you're listening to this, you really need to kind of be on the lookout for iWrestle.com next week. So starting on the 15th, that's the plan. The 15th, you're going to be able to. So we're going to narrow this down, people. The top 15 in 1A, 2A, and 3A, the top 15. And we are going to have a poll. And there's going to be a fan vote. There's a committee, obviously, that votes on the Mr. Wrestler Award. But the fans are going to have the vote for the very first time. So you're going to be able to vote for the top 10 wrestlers. So it's going to go from 15 in December. And then January will go down to 10. And then during the state tournament, we'll get down to the final 3. So we'll have three rounds of voting, and the fan vote will count on the committee. Basically, kind of like the Hodge Trophy works, where there's a group of members that are on the committee, and the fan vote counts as a vote. So December 15th, iWrestle.com, you'll be able to vote. There'll be 15 wrestlers from each class. That vote counts towards getting down to the top 10 in the state. For each class, that goes down to 3. So we are absolutely pumped. there's people out there that don't even know what the Dan Gable Wrestler of the Year award is, and that's going to freaking change this year because we're going to treat this as the Heisman Trophy of Iowa high school wrestling. And we're pumped about it. We're pumped to be a part of it. Fairway Food Stores, Powerade, coming through and taking this thing away from the Iowa High School Sports Network that has just taken it to be a way to make money. And we're going to take this to new heights to actually make it a huge award and showcase the best talent in the year. I couldn't think of a better year, right? You got Thompson, Teskey, Shapiro. This is a year that we're going to the Pittsburgh Classic. It's been the first time we've been asked to go to that since Nam. So it's a huge Dan Gable Mr. Wrestler of the Year award.
For sure. I mean, yeah. I'm trying to think of what our Fab 50 is, but I feel like out of our top 10, Shriver. Is Shriver the only one of the top 10? I want to say that's an underclassman.
Reeves.
Ooh,
Reeves is in there, probably, isn't he?
Yeah, Reeves might. There's a good chance he is too. You're right.
I don't have it in
but
front of me,
like
but
you said,
Reeves probably
Shapiro, Teskey. There's Millage in 2A. There's a ton of guys. Obviously, that's one of the reasons Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic, like you said, wants Iowa to come out. We have a great senior class. It's a great year. It's going to be a fun vote. I mean, it's going to be hard getting it from 15 to 10.
And this is what's the best part about it, guys, is usually there's a dinner, right, at the end of the year. There's a banquet. They bring in the top 3 from each class. And they bring them in Des Moines, fancy, whatever. We're bringing them to the War at West Gym. There's going to be a banquet Saturday after weigh-ins in Cedar Falls with the Dan Gable Mr. Wrestler of the Year awards going down. And that night, we will have the War at West Gym in Cedar Falls. The best of the best going at it. And everything is just the stars align. And we can't wait. So look forward to that. And then you have the Pittsburgh Classic at the end of the year. So that news just got broke again, which we broke in October. But that got broke today officially on news outlets across the country. So we will definitely be taking a team to that. IRS is going to be a part of that. Pete Bush, Jason Christensen, Wes Creason, I believe, is going to be a part of it as well. So this is some exciting times for Iowa. We're happy to be a part of it. I'm trying to get my iron in every single fire we have in the state of Iowa. And if you got a fire burning and you want IRS to be a part of it, hit me up. I'll throw the pan in there. Let's get things rocking. Let's keep wrestling freaking growing in this state and get back on top. You're speechless, aren't you?
100%. I don't even know what to say. I mean, I felt like that was a big moment.
I'm fired up.
No,
There's so much stuff going crazy this year. And we have a lot to be proud of in our state. This is a huge class. Can't say it enough. And what's crazy about this, we had this revelation this weekend, Ross. Kirk and I were the first one. We kind of came up with this idea of iWrestle.com, and these freshmen were the guys that we built this site around. And Ross, Lars, Eric. I mean, all these guys that have helped us build this website. We've built this around this senior class. So these guys are special to us. So we're going to do everything we can to make these guys freaking stars this year. And it's just beginning. I mean, we haven't even got to Christmas break, and I feel like these guys are on another pedestal for what other people have been in this state. But I'm biased, obviously. So, you got anything else, man? I just feel like we should just put a lid on it. Boom.
Yeah, we hit it all, man. We were around the state there, so.
Perfect. 105. That is how many episodes we have knocked out of Potentially Dangerous. We'll be back hopefully next week. We have been spotty, but hopefully you understand that we've got lots of stuff going on in the state, and we'd rather bring you wrestling coverage, wrestling matches, live matches, than a podcast. But we hear you. We hear you that you want it. We appreciate it. You can subscribe to this Potentially Dangerous podcast at bit.ly, bit.ly/potentially dangerous. Rate and review our podcast so we get our podcast, boom, shooting up to the top of the rankings at Apple. And we'd love to hear from you, too, if you've got any 2 cents on our podcast. So for Ross Bartachek, the rest of the people at IA Russell, thanks for listening. We'll be back for episode 106 of Potentially Dangerous on IEWrestle.com.
Get low when the whistle go.